Well, there are many museums here on Delmarva. In fact, we've been to quite a few of them.
As a matter of fact, did you know there is only one museum on the peninsula that showcases the history of one state police agency? It is the Delaware State Police Museum in Dover. And Brian Spiros got a look at the past, the present, and just how far the force has come over the years.
The Delaware State Police has been around since the 1920s. Between now and then, a lot has changed, from the way troopers do their job to the equipment they use. All of it is documented inside the Delaware State Police Museum in Dover.
What we're trying to do for adults and for children is to give them an understanding of what the police are, what the state police are. That we are more than just a group that goes out and arrests people. That there is a history here that spans coming up on almost 100 years.
John Alstad is the curator of the museum and a retired sergeant with the Delaware State Police. He says the idea to showcase the agency's history came about in the early 1990s. After all was said and done, the Delaware State Police Museum opened in April of 1998. Once inside, the first thing you'll see is this wall of pictures. Faces of the men and women who wore their uniform proudly.
Our memorial wall is dedicated to the 22 troopers who've lost their lives in the line of duty over the last 90 years.
The museum gives you a sense of what it was like to be a trooper throughout the decades, from old equipment to the uniforms, the training of officers, the role of the canine, the various weapons, advertising campaigns, even the modes of transportation troopers once used.
From 1920 until 1936, they didn't ride in automobiles. They rode on a motorcycle. And just imagine being out there 8 to 10 hours a day, 6 days a week, 365 days a year. And you may get 1 week's vacation if you're fortunate, but you're out there, it doesn't matter what the weather is, you're riding your motorcycle.
Eventually, cars made their way onto the force in the mid-1930s.
So in terms of showcasing history, you guys have some pretty old state police vehicles here inside the museum.
Yes, we do. We have a 1941, we have a 1946, and we have a 1949. One of the things you'll look at the old cars is that they're two-door cars. Today they're four doors. In addition to that, we also have a timeline on the wall in front of me that shows state police cars from the beginning all the way up to 2000.
Speaking of cars, Delaware's own Trooper Dan is parked nearby. He was one of the first character cars in the country used by police agencies to go to schools and events to educate children. And from the ground to the sky, what would state police work be without a helicopter?
In 1971, we began flying in a helicopter, and that is a replica of HQ 501.
But you also get a sense of how technology has changed things. Take, for example, the composite sketch, a way for police to get a sense of what a criminal looks like. John says from 1940 until 1974, something called an identikit was used. Police would slide facial features into a box to get a sense of what someone looked like based on a victim account.
In 1976, we left that aspect and we had a trooper who was an artist, and his name was Rolf Wysock, and he began doing drawings based on what the witness or the victim was telling him.
Now it's all done via the computer. I got to try it out on this interactive display. A picture of a suspect shows up for a few seconds. I then have to reconstruct the face based on what I saw.
Of the game portion to let the adults and the children see what it's like to be a victim or a witness of a crime, because it goes past really fast. A lot of people believe that, oh, it's so easy to identify somebody. Well, it really isn't.
There's also this crime scene which serves as a teaching tool.
Police work isn't necessarily what they see on TV. This mock crime scene shows the family room of Roger Smart, who's an accountant, and there is a little scenario that goes along with the crime. What we're interested in the investigating the crime scene is especially for the children, they are the first detectives. They're an amateur detective, but they are the first detective at the scene. Now they have to decide, is it a murder? Is it a suicide? Is it an accidental death?
Speaking of crime scenes, there's also information about some of Delaware's most well-known murder cases, like the Lonely Hearts case. Not the normal type of exhibit you see in most museums, but that's what makes the Delaware State Police Museum so unique. It's all part of what they do. And for John, he enjoys seeing that history forever showcased.
And history is something that I've always loved. And it's coupling my love of history to the state police and telling our story the best I can.
A story with no end in sight.
Isn't that fascinating? Now, Delaware is not the only state with a state police museum. Many other states' trooper agencies also have showcased their history, including Maryland. The Maryland State Troopers Museum is located in Pikesville. Now, still ahead on Delmarva Life, is your garage buried under a big pile of stuff? You not only waste time looking for something, but you waste money too, because you wind up replacing things you have but can't find. Up next, Angie's going to help us get organized.
And later we're in the kitchen with dinner and dessert. We're putting together a Wahoo dish made with local ingredients and capping it off with honey marinated peaches. Yum.
But first, the kids are going back to school here pretty quick. Dr. Oz has more on how to make sure this time of year is stress-free.
These days, kids have lots on their plates. Like adults, they're also battling stress. It can cause headaches, stomach upset, sleep problems, and more. So this back-to-school season, create an anti-stress routine for the whole family. First off, at breakfast time, avoid sugary cereals. They create mid-morning energy crashes. Instead, fuel up with energy-sustaining proteins and good fats, like yogurt or almond butter on a whole grain toast. Secondly, after a hectic day, guess what? You can go ahead and tell a joke or have a pillow fight. Laughter is a proven way of reducing anxiety. And thirdly, before bed, try winding down together with a yoga breathing exercise. Here's how you do it. Lie on your backs and slowly breathe so the belly expands. Then you can exhale slowly. Do it 10 times and you'll sleep better.